Hello and welcome to Flax on Snax. I'm shooting this video on March 17th, which is, of course, St. Patrick's Day, hence the green. I also happen to be 1/4 Irish. Unfortunately, this month's Universal Yums box is not from Ireland, which would have been great thematically. But it is from another country that does play a smaller role in my personal heritage. That's right, I'm 1/16 German. And so, for the March 2021 Universal Yums box, off we go to Germany. That was a quick look at the box's contents. This is, as usual, the Yum Yum box, which I love to say. The middle and second level from the Universal Yums subscription service. Bigger than the Yum box, but smaller than the Super Yum box. And this month it contained 13 items, which is par for the course. It's usually 12 or 13 different things. So since we've already taken a quick look at what's inside, let's just crack right on into it. As usual, I'm going to start with the savories. So let's just go ahead and begin with ketchup flavored potato sticks. Now, if you've watched every video on this channel, you're probably me. But if you have, you will have noticed that in the Egypt box, there were ketchup flavored, they weren't quite Cheetos, but they were sort of like puffs that resembled cheese puffs, except they weren't cheesy. They were ketchup flavored. And those were one of my favorite products in that box. So, hoping for good things out of this. Well, they kind of have the look of sort of like veggie straws. They're actually hollow. If I can line that up. There you go. Wait till it's hollow. All right. So yeah, these were made in Germany. It looks like they were made in, I don't know, it's hard to tell which thing is the geography portion if it's not a city name that you definitely know when you don't read German. But they were made in Germany per the English sticker that was added by Universal Yums. Potato flour, potato starch, pea starch, and then they have whey in them for no apparent reason, so they are not vegan. Not that I care, but somebody might. Anyway, let's just get to it. It's a very light crisp. Pretty airy. More so than I was expecting. Although I suppose it makes sense, given that there's a hole in the middle. And you can see the bubbles all around there. So it almost has the consistency of kind of like a pork rind, maybe a little bit, or it's kind of like a funyun, sort of that airiness. The ketchup flavor is not super strong. I wish there was a little more ketchup flavor, but I like the way these crunch and they taste perfectly good. So, good start. So, similar product. Zwiebels. This is corn flour. Looks like it's made by the same company though. XOX Snack. Possibly Schnock. I don't know. I'm not going to try to do a German impression. Onion flavored rings. Don't smell hugely oniony, but smell is not everything. Let's see where onion powder ranks on the ingredients. 4th, pretty good. Behind only corn flour, sunflower oil, and maltodextrin. All right. So these are pretty small. These are similar to the, again, if you've watched every video on this channel, as I know you have not, In the UK box from Universal Yum some months ago had like pickled onion rings. I think they were a comparable size to this. Obviously, this is a lot smaller than a Funyun or, you know, most of the things that you would find in this vertical, if you will, in the US. Similar airiness, even airier. Almost too airy. Actually, these do remind me a lot of the UK ones because they're kind of salty. Like, obviously, these are salty snacks, so I'm not like, oh my God, I can't believe there's salt in here. But it's one thing to, you know, as a snack, have salt in there. When the flavor is kind of dominated by the taste of the salt and the intensity of the salt, that's a little more than I'm usually looking for. The onion is not super strong. Like, I mean, yeah, they're oniony, but they could be more oniony. I mean, sea salt is right behind onion powder on the ingredients list. And then there is also further salt. So there's sea salt and salt in this. So maybe not surprising that they're kind of salty. I guess they're fine. They're oniony enough. Like, I'm getting onion on the palate, certainly, but I'd like a little more onion up front. I don't feel like I'm getting a ton of that, certainly. And I don't love the super airiness of this because it's a little, like, I know these aren't stale. Yeah, these are still fresh, but the way that they do a product like this makes it almost taste stale even when it's not. So it's like, you could have done a little bit better with that, I think. So last savory already, a rather large bag of tasty snack pulled pork flavor. These even kind of look like, you know, pieces of bacon or what have you. Corn rice snack with pulled pork flavor. 40% corn flour, 27% rice flour, 24% sunflower oil. So that only leaves you 9% to be divided among sugar, dextrose, salt, yeast extract, spices, tomato powder, blah, 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 so on down. Smoke flavoring, okay. Per 100 grams, 482 calories. And this is 125 grams. So, it's like a 600 calorie bag of tasty snack. So, just a couple of these, I think. Yeah, okay. You can certainly smell the smoke flavoring. It's sort of weird to go with pulled pork flavor, but then make it look like bacon. Like, why didn't you just call it bacon flavor? I guess because there's also kind of a saucy component to this. Like, I can sort of smell the kind of the tomatoey sauce they're going for with it. Pull out a couple. So that's what that looks like. Once again, looks like we're gonna have a kind of an airy crisp or crunch to it. Really smoky. Wow. That is almost alarmingly accurate. My goodness. Okay, you know what? XOX snack. Good job. Once again, it's on the salty side, although this one is balanced, I think, just about right. It's maybe, you know, 10% saltier than I might really want, but not terrible. The verisimilitude of this flavor is way more than I was expecting. I mean, I was thinking that it was going to be, okay, it's kind of smoky, maybe it's got a little meaty component. And this tastes like I bit into a pulled pork sandwich, honestly. Like, this is shockingly good, really, because it tastes like it's supposed to taste, and how. And it fits it into a texture that isn't like way off. Like, obviously, if you bit into a pulled pork sandwich, it's not going to be kind of that crunchy crisp like this. I mean, maybe if you had a little coleslaw in there, but still, it's not going to be the same kind of crisp, obviously. But it's not one of these things that's like so far off what you would maybe ever expect that the texture and the flavor don't mesh at all. This works. you know, I think this would work on a chip too. I think when I did the Lay's flavors, there was a carnitas one, and that also I thought worked very well. So, you know, these porky products, I don't know what to tell you. They are really working for me. I mean, this is sort of a weird one because it's just like these weird kind of crispy things, like they're not really chips. And it's kind of odd that they taste so much like pulled pork, but man, they really taste like pulled pork. And what can I say? I'm into it. So as usual, after just a few savory products, we are already on to the sweets. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the cookies and then move to the candy because I would kind of anticipate that the cookies will be a little subtler. And so you want to save that, or I want to save that more concentrated sweetness for the end. So ox eye cookies, which is definitely the most appetizing way I could think of to describe that kind of cookie. What do we call these? Now I don't know. Anyway, now these also have apricot kernels and apple pulp, like the Domino's in the holiday box. So these are sour cherry flavored, and it says sour cherry filling, but I guess it's not really sour cherry filling. It's really apple pulp, and I guess maybe also kind of ground apricot kernels, although those might be in the dough. It's really apple pulp with cherry juice concentrate. So, okay. The main fat is palm fat. Interesting. Then there's sorbitol in here. All right, well, there you go. It does kind of smell like that, the Marzipan, which is the ground apricot kernels, and a bit like cherry. On the whole, I like the flavor. So I'm not complaining about the way it tastes. It tastes good. With that said, it's one of these things where, in my opinion, tasting good is fine, but if you are representing yourself as having a certain flavor, you are under some obligation to actually taste like that thing. If you're going to say sour cherry filling, I don't know. I mean, you can't really taste it that much because the cookie itself, you know, it's already sugar and flour, so it's already a sweet cookie, and then you've added these ground apricot kernels, so now it tastes like, you know, Marzipan, which basically tastes like Marzipan. So it's this very sweet, distinctly flavored cookie. And then there's this little bit of flavored fruit pulp in the middle. And it kind of just doesn't really stand up against the cookie. So it's a perfectly nice tasting cookie. Does it taste like sour cherry to me? Not really. I can't taste the sour cherry because the flavor of like these Marzipan cookies is just kind of overwhelming everything. So are these delicious? Yes. Are these delicious in the way that it says on the package? Not really. So, you know, some points off for that. But objectively speaking, these are perfectly good. Almond cinnamon wafer cookies. This is one of these ones, you know, somebody on one of the early posts was like, oh, these aren't British products. Some of the things that Universal Yums sends seem pretty clearly to have been, you know, printed in like the language of the country they're coming from. And so it's like, this was probably produced for sale there, because otherwise, why would you put, you know, when it was from Ukraine, why is this all in Cyrillic? If you were making this solely for export, surely it'd be more English on here, whatever. Sometimes you get stuff like this. And I mean, you probably can't really tell just looking at it like this, but other than it saying made in Germany, and I guess the brand does say Waffle, there's not much indication that this was even produced for consumption in Germany. I mean, Universal Yums is like directly on the package here. So I haven't really looked into like what the deal is with that. My assumption would be it's something along the lines of, you know, the best way to do this is to kind of do like a deal with a snack producer in that company and say, hey, you know, make this specifically for us. You know, so it still comes from Germany and it's like a product that is sold in Germany, maybe under a different name or in slightly different packaging, but it is a little jarring to get, you know, I mean, something like this, these XOX snacks, you know, there's all this German on the back here. And this one, there's no German on it other than Spreewaffel, which, you know, whatever, you could... Anyway, it's not really important. You know, it says made in Germany. I certainly trust these are made in Germany and are at least somewhat representative of German snack tastes, but it's just a little strange. All right, almond cinnamon wafers. Looks like a wafer cookie. Smells like cinnamon. I'll see that one, comparatively to the ox-eyes, is exactly what it says on the tin. It is a wafer cookie. It tastes like almond and cinnamon. Not a whole lot else to say about that one. It literally just is what it says. It is what it is. And, you know, so it tastes good. You know, a little kind of dry and crumbly and you know, those wafers are a little safety cone-ish. So, I mean, if you eat an ice cream out of those kind of papery safety cones, you kind of know what I mean when I say that, presumably. But, you know, so a little bit like, it kind of tastes stale, but isn't. It's just the way the material is. I don't have a problem with that because I expect it. So that's fine. But, you know, it's just, that is what it is. Yeah, totally good. So exactly what you would think it would be. It's always hard to know the order to go with candy because you always risk getting your palate kind of blown out by whatever you start with. Because these are probably all pretty sweet. I'm gonna start with this one. It seems a little less offensive from that standpoint. This is another one. I mean, this is, you know, it's got the list of where it was manufactured in Germany. But like, you know, this looks like it was made to be sold to Americans. But whatever. Made in Germany. There was a German web address on the back here, sunrice.de for Deutschland. So crunchy chocolate with puffed Rice Krispies, milk, and cereals. So I don't know if it's like milk chocolate or if they're supposed to be kind of like chocolate, dry whole milk and non-fat dry milk and added lactose. And then in addition to puffed rice, there's also puffed wheat, puffed barley, puffed spelt, and puffed buckwheat. Okay. Not the most, you know, not the single most appealing look of one of these sorts of things I've ever seen. I mean, you know, you think of a Crunch bar, but this looks just like a chocolate covered, you know, kashi bar or something. And look, I eat kashi bars, but, you know, not as like this kind of product. Also much more solid to bite into. Oh, goodness. Okay, that's weird. I mean, really what this tastes like is a chocolate-covered rice cake. I haven't had rice cakes in years, but I used to eat them a lot. Not necessarily what I'm looking for in a candy bar looking thing. I mean, a chocolate covered rice cake with like a little bit of sort of milkiness in the rice cake, I guess. But it's very like grainy. I don't mean like, you know, grainy texture. I mean like it tastes like grains. Like there's a bunch of grains in here, which there are. There's all that spelt and buckwheat and stuff. I mean, this seems like a weird ersatz candy bar product that, like, you know, if you grew up in a household with like crunchy granola hippie parents and they're like, no, you can't have a Snickers. These are just as good. In fact, they're better. You know, and it's something they bought at like the health food store. Chocolate covered rice cake, I mean, okay, it's fine for what it is, sure, I guess. You know, it's not like it tastes bad, and if you know that this is a chocolate covered rice cake, it was, I mean, some of it was the element of surprise, because I was not expecting it to be like that. But it's just like, again, I was expecting a Nestle Crunch, and you give me a chocolate covered rice cake. No. Nah. Let's go to the complete opposite end of the candy spectrum. Chocolate chip cookie dough filled chocolate. And this one, actually pretty German looking here. So there you go. There's your cookie dough filling in the chocolate, which looks a little dark on the underside, but I think is basically milk chocolate here. My teeth like instantaneously hurt. Not really. It was it's like the creme brulee chocolate from the, was that the Ukraine box? It's pretty decadent. Like that is about as much as I would want to eat of that at one time, which is probably just as well. So yeah, this is another one that it really delivers what it promises. I mean, that is distinctly a chocolate bar with a cookie dough-like, anyway, filling. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, they have the ingredients of, you know, cookie dough. There's some wheat flour in there. Chocolate chips. So, yeah. I mean, who doesn't love chocolate chip cookie dough? Weirdos, I guess. You know, it's good, I mean, German chocolate. And that is what you think it is going to be. And it is incredibly rich experience. Yeah, so that's a good one. All right. Choco Monk Strawberry Rhubarb White Chocolate Bar. Premium white chocolate with strawberry rhubarb crumble. 31% minimum cocoa butter in the chocolate. Minimum. Couldn't really keep track of it, you know. This is another one with just no German on it at all, but it promises to be made in Germany, so all right, whatever. Sodium bicarbonate, oh no. All right, so that's what that looks like. Here's the underside. I mean, that's a little crazy. So there's like freeze-dried strawberry bits, freeze-dried rhubarb bits, and then I guess also these like crumbles, which are presumably presumably I'm thinking these are like Pop Roxy type of things. So, okay, well, smells very strawberry-y. Yeah, I'm not wild about that one either. I mean, so here's what's happening here. So first of all, I don't know if the crumbles were just not what I thought they were going to be, or if that was sort of a dud piece, but like, it didn't really do anything in my mouth. So I'm not really sure what that was adding. It tastes pleasant enough. The freeze-dried strawberry and rhubarb bits subsequently kind of rehydrate slightly in the mouth, and then just kind of stick to my teeth in sort of an unpleasant, you know, plant tissue-y texture. So I'm not really super excited about anything going on there. I mean, the taste itself, again, is totally fine. It's, white chocolate, which does not taste like a whole heck of a lot, as I'm sure you know. And then a nice, pleasant kind of strawberry flavor, not overwhelming. But then it's not doing anything crumbly. And then I get all these weird bits. So, yeah, not really thanking anyone for that one too much. Again, none of this stuff is salmiakki level, spit it out immediately, anything. But, I'd like to see certain things out of these boxes. Let's get to something that I'm quite sure I do like, which is marzipan. So there were 2 marzipan products in here. So this is just like a marzipan log. Marzipan covered in dark chocolate. Pretty simple. Exactly what you would think. Yeah. I mean, not much to say about that one. It is marzipan covered in dark chocolate. That is exactly what it is. That is exactly what it tastes like, which means it's good. If you like marzipan, which I know not everyone does. I happen to like it. So if you like marzipan, boom. All right, and then, this is kind of a funny one. Marzipan potatoes. So it's marzipan balls, and we dusted them with cocoa powder, so they look a little bit like little potatoes. Like, it's so goofy, but like in a way that's just fun. So yeah, there you go. A little squishy. I mean, if you've ever had like a marzipan fruit, this is basically that, but it looks like a potato instead of a fruit. I mean, it's a piece of marzipan. The cocoa powder, not adding much flavor-wise. I think it's mostly for appearances. Maybe adds a tiny bit, but it's basically just a big chunk of marzipan. So again, totally good. I mean, it's sort of funny to think of, my complaints about this box and imagining somebody else who like hates marzipan getting this box. I mean, like, oh, all this marzipan. You can't win them all. But I like marzipan, so that was good for me. So all that is left is the Yum Bag. But the Yum Bag does have 3 different things in it. So we've got these coffee caramels. And we've got a couple of little chewy things. So these cola things, which are, these apparently are chews. And then there's also these little like fruit chews, which are basically the exact same looking thing, right down to the shape. But apparently are different. I guess because they're fruit, not cola. Start with grapefruit. A lot of this is just kind of sticking to the inner part of the wrapper. It's hard to get out of here without it like ripping apart. So it looks a little bit like, as you can see, it kind of tore, but that's okay. Kind of like a small Now and Later. It smells very grapefruity. Okay. It almost chews like a taffy, like a saltwater taffy. Nice tartness. Definitely tastes like grapefruit. Good chew. I mean, I could frankly do with it being a little bit bigger, maybe. And it'd be nice if it wasn't quite so sticky in the wrapper. It's easier to get out. But other than that, totally serviceable. All right, so let's try the cola equivalent, which is apparently a different product, even though it looks exactly the same. And I mean, like, exactly the same. Smells cola-y. Yeah. Ooh. That's pretty nice. Good cola flavor. It makes me think of the, gummy cola bottles from Haribo, flavor-wise. So yeah, also good. Let's finish with Kuban Bon. Caramels with coffee, extra soft. Sugar, glucose syrup, walnut powder, coconut oil, skim milk powder, espresso paste, 3%. Caramel sugar syrup, glucose syrup, invert sugar syrup, fat-reduced cocoa, ethyl alcohol, water, coffee powder extract, 3%. So 3% of 3% is the coffee. So not much coffee in here, but enough that you taste it, I assume. All right. That was softer than I was expecting. Don't talk with your mouth full. It tastes like coffee the way that, like, coffee yogurt tastes like coffee. So that kind of slightly sharp note, a little bit more of the acidic part of the roastiness. Mostly just tastes like roast. Not surprising, probably roast pretty dark. But then a little creamy from in this case, the caramel as opposed to the yogurt. Serviceable. If you like a coffee candy, sure, this is fine. As I said in the Kit Kat review, not really the way I like my coffee per se, but it's totally fine as a candy product. Yeah. Wow, that's it. We're all the way through the Universal Yums Germany box. Solid box. And look, any one of these is unlikely to be like terrible, right? Because they're not looking to go out of business by sending people a bunch of garbage. Were there a couple things that I was, a little disappointed by? Yeah, there were, but that can happen from time to time. And there were, some things that I was pleasantly surprised by. For example, again, tasty snack, these pulled pork things. That's probably my favorite thing in the entire box, honestly, which is weird to say. Cookie dough bar was also very good. The almond cinnamon wafers were good. They were, exactly what I expected them to be. And then all the marzipan stuff was good and exactly what I expected it to be. So, from that standpoint, again, not a surprise. So, from the standpoint of like, ooh, I'm hoping for something, new and exotic. No, it was not that, but it was things that, tasted good and that I liked and that were made in Germany. So, hey, it clears that hurdle. Yeah, so pretty good overall. I mean, the only thing that I actively disliked, I would say, would be the essentially, again, chocolate covered rice cake. Meh, pass on that one. I mean, even the strawberry rhubarb crumble thing, for my personal taste, could have been a little bit better, but tasted fine. Really the puffed rice one. I mean, again, it didn't taste disgusting, but just not really what I'm looking for here. So, other than that, though, everything was at least okay. So yeah, that's it for this episode of Flax on Snacks, Universal Yum Box for March 2021. Pulled pork tasty snack, who knew? I'll be back soon-ish, probably, with a spicy snack roundup, American snacks. I've got a few things that are spicy that I need to try. So, again, if you loved the sweat beads from the Jelly Belly Fiery 5 Challenge episode, tune in because you're going to see more of that. And if you didn't, tune in anyway, because I won't get too graphic with the sweat beads this time. I don't know. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to have a few more of these bad boys. And we'll see you later.